Happy hump day to you and yours. Thanks for joining us. As always, it is very much appreciated. Okay, let's start with a couple of news and notes here before we get into the heavy stuff. Brad Marchand named captain of the Bruins. This is not surprising. He's the elder statesman. We all love Marshy. It's well-deserved. I do have a question, though. Does this mean the Bruins are married to Marchand? If the Bruins are not playing good hockey, if they're a bad team, hypothetically, by the deadline, are they comfortable enough to trade their team captain to bring back a couple of assets? Marchand would be towards the top, if not at the tippity top of the list, as far as guys that you would entertain dealing under those circumstances. You're going to keep Pasta, you're going to keep McAvoy, you're going to keep Lindholm, et cetera, et cetera. Really, you'd look at the goalies, one of those two guys, and Marshy as the best trade bait that would not necessarily impact your long-term future. Are you open to dealing Marchand now that he's team captain if the team is not playing well by the deadline? I don't know the answer to that. Interesting to keep an eye on it, though. I would also question whether or not this means that Marchand will retire as a Bruin. He's got this year and next year left on his deal. He'll be 36 years old. Does this mean that the Bruins, for all intents and purposes, put the ring on Marchand's finger and said, "You're with us for the rest of your time"? Just a couple of things to kind of keep an eye on again. Also, Trent Brown, he gets a couple of $1 million in incentives added to his deal by Matt Groh and Bill Belichick. This came out last night. Drew Rosenhaus is Brown's agent. Not a surprise. Rosenhaus has a very good relationship with Belichick. They have done each other favors in the past. They'll continue to do that in the present and future. And I love this idea. As we know, Trent Brown's a talented guy. He is one of the better left tackles in football when he is motivated, when he's focused, when he's invested. And adding these incentives, I believe, make it more likely that Brown will go out there and not only play Sunday to Sunday, but also play better. And so I love the idea. You need good Trent Brown. You might need very good Trent Brown. When you look at this offensive line, Trent and Michael Onwenu are your two best offensive linemen. David Andrews is probably third in the order. You need Trent Brown on the left side to make sure that is solidified because, as we know, right tackle, I wouldn't be surprised if Adarian Lowe plays there this week. It's kind of shuffling and trying to find the best guy to play that spot week to week right now. So you need Trent Brown in this thing. And this is how I think you keep him motivated. This is how you keep him invested. This is how you keep him playing good football. So I thought it was a necessary step by the Patriots. Makes sense. Very similar to what they did with Matthew Judon before the season kicked off. And I had discussed this a couple months ago with Greg Bedard, the idea of making this happen, and the Patriots have made it happen. Also, I'm not going to spend much time on this at all, but I do think it's noteworthy. Matt Corral. And I don't know what is going on behind the scenes with Corral. All I know is that he was put on the, leaving list, the absence list, and then he was supposedly coming back yesterday. The news was that Corral was signing to the practice squad, and then you wake up this morning, and I guess Corral is not signing to the practice squad. There's been some talk about, mental health and anxiety and those kinds of things with Matt Corral. All I can do is hope for the best for the young man. It's a personal situation. It seems like. I'm not going to speculate. I'm not going to dive into it much. But I do believe one of the things that we can't overlook is the third quarterback deal here in New England. And who is your third quarterback? Is it Malik Cunningham? It has to be right now, right? I would imagine that Cunningham is the guy. And it would be nice for the Patriots to have somebody else on the practice squad that had played more than a quarter in the preseason at quarterback and has really been working on development at wide receiver. So right now you got Bailey Zappi. We know what Bailey Zappi is. I don't think he's anything great. Patriots were willing to put him on waivers when the preseason was over. So your quarterback depth is questionable. All right, let's get into the Patriots, though. Because on Monday, after the loss to the Dolphins, I talked about the Groundhogs Day nature of this football team and how they keep losing games in a very similar fashion. They get down, they get closer, but ultimately it's not enough because of mistakes, turnovers, flags, etc., etc. And I hear a lot of people try to blame one person or blame one aspect. So I thought it'd be kind of an interesting exercise to truly look at why. I'm a very curious person, very curious. And when people use blanket statements like, oh, the Patriots can't win games like those kinds of games because of that, I always question it. I always want to look into it. General statements are general statements. And sometimes we can get lazy, me included, of just throwing out a record and saying, oh, the Patriots have this record under these circumstances and all of that kind of stuff. What actually happened in those games? So why are the Patriots losing these types of games consistently? Why? And I think it really starts with a false equivalency that is happening. We're going to do some blame pie here, but the false equivalency from some is this idea that the Patriots have an inability to come back in games. They have an inability to come back from deficits because of the quarterback, and the quarterback is the problem. And I'm here to tell you right now, that's the wrong diagnosis, folks. And we are using that as a scapegoat for some other things that have gone very, very wrong here. And so I kind of just wanted to start with that thought process, the false equivalency. Losses in close games equals quarterback's fault. To me, it's a lazy stat to talk about comebacks and fourth quarter wins and put that record on just the quarterback. I'll give you a hypothetical quickly here. Say if you're down by 3 points with 4 minutes left in the game. Down by 3, 4 minutes left. Quarterback leads your team down for a touchdown drive. You now have a 4-point lead. Let's say the opposition gets the ball with about 2 minutes left, and the opposition actually ends up winning that game. Is the QB who led his team to that 4-point lead with 2 minutes left, is he to blame? No, comebacks don't entirely rely on quarterback play, and losing leads don't entirely rely on quarterback play, offensive line, wide receivers, running backs, special teams, defense. So let's have some fun here. This exercise is not to tell you, I'll give you the disclaimer. This exercise is not to tell you that Mac Jones hasn't screwed up or he's blameless for losses. Again, this is not the point of the exercise. Mac deserves at least some of the blame, no doubt. Mac has absolutely made bad plays which have resulted in losses. Nobody is denying that. Absolutely nobody. What this exercise is supposed to do is tell you that Mac has actually shown he's capable of coming back from a deficit, which has become this echo chamber over the last year plus. Just doesn't come back, can't come back. Question it. Curiosity. So let's do the work. Let's go into the lab, which I did earlier this week, and let's look at Mac's comebacks. Let's look at games where Mac was down in the game by a score or two and actually did make the winning plays and actually helped his team come back, only to end up losing most of those games. So let's do that. There are 7 clear examples of Mac bringing this team back from a deficit and giving his team a chance to win the game. There are 7 examples of that I found. Those 7 games: Week 1 in 2021 against Miami, Week 4 in 2021 against Tampa, Week 5 in 2021 at Houston, which is the one game that every critic points to and says, oh yeah, other than Houston, like that game doesn't count. Week 6 in 2021 versus Dallas, Week 8 in 2021 against the Chargers, Week 15 in 2021 at Vegas, Week 16 last year versus Cincinnati. So let's look at those 7 games and the record. Clear examples of Mac bringing his team back, giving them the lead in the fourth quarter, only for the team to lose that game. Mac's record in those 7 games is 2-5. So they don't always lose the game. But when he has come back from a deficit, given them the lead, put them in a position to win, it's happened 7 times. And Mac in those games and the Patriots in those games are 2-5. No fault of the quarterback at that point. Did what he was supposed to do. Let's look at 3 specific examples. I want to show some of the work, okay? Week 1 In 2021 against Miami, Patriots lost this game 17-16. The Patriots were down 17-16. Jones drives them down to the Miami 11-yard line with 3 minutes and 35 seconds left. Damian Harris fumbles the football at the 11. Miami recovers, and then the defense can't come up with a stop. Again, Mac was down 17-16 with about 5-6 minutes left on the clock, drives them down to the 11. Running back fumbles, turnover, defense can't stop them. Patriots lose. Week 6, I know a lot of you remember this one in 2021 versus Dallas. It was a 35-29 loss, down 20-14 in the fourth quarter. Jones drives the team down the field, gets it to be 21-20 with a touchdown drive. Now, again, not completely blameless. Mac throws a pick six. Huge mistake, terrible play at a terrible time. Pick six happens. Dallas goes up 26-21. But what does Mac do after that pick six? Mac comes right back with another touchdown drive and leads the Patriots to a 29-26 lead with 2 minutes and 11 seconds left. What happened? Defense gives it up. Defense gives it up. Dallas ties it 29-29. But Mac comes back. He drives it to the New England 46, right? In overtime. You're looking at a 4th and 3. A 4th and 3. Bad day for the defense, right? 4th and 3 in overtime from the New England 46-yard line. Belichick decides to punt the football. Dallas quickly scores a touchdown, and they win that game. Is that Mac? Mac drove them to lead 21-20. Yes, he threw the pick six, but he came right back, made up for that mistake with another touchdown drive, put him up 29-26 with just over 2 minutes to go. Your defense couldn't hold him, and then your head coach decided to punt the football in overtime, and the defense crumbled. And then we remember this one against Cincinnati. Patriots, it was a 22-18 loss. The Pats were down 22-0 at halftime of this game. Mac Jones helps the Patriots offense score 18 unanswered points, 12 of those 18 points in the fourth quarter. Patriots have a 1st and goal from the Cincinnati 5-yard line with 1:07 left. Ramondre Stevenson fumbles. They lose the game. Mac brought them back from a 22-point deficit at the half. 5-yard line, 1st and goal, 1:07 left, and your running back fumbles. Cincinnati wins. I would say that looking at the comebacks and fourth quarter wins and all that stuff when we talk about quarterbacks, it reminds me of the conversation that we used to have 20 years ago about starting pitchers and their win-loss record. Win-loss record of a starting pitcher is not indicative of actually how he's pitching. How many pitchers pitch great, but their win-loss record hovers around 500 because their team stinks or it's an average baseball team? How many pitchers pitch like crap, but they end up having a winning record because their offense is ridiculous? Very similar vibes. Very similar vibes. Here's the truth, okay? When looking at all of this work, here's what I can tell you. Again, Mac is not blameless. Mac has made mistakes. Mac has cost the Patriots games. But what I can tell you is Mac has also unequivocally led comebacks and put his team in a winning spot. That's what I can tell you. Unequivocally, he's done that. He's done that at least 7 times in his Patriots career. And the record in those 7 games, again, is 2-5. That's what I can tell you. So when we look at the blame pie, who gets most of the blame? To me, it's the guy who runs the program. Bill Belichick deserves most of the blame in this blame pie for this team losing close games. The offensive team that he has built has a ceiling, has a limited ceiling. They're not going to give you 30 to 34 points a week. They're not going to be one of the elite offenses in the league based on what they have to work with. And Belichick is the one that shops for the groceries. The groceries ain't good enough to make a spectacular meal over and over and over again. It's just not going to happen. Belichick also, 4th down decisions that he's made. I just gave you one in that Dallas game, have proved costly. right? Kicking field goals, going for, a Nick Folk 50-plus yard field goal instead of trusting your quarterback on 4th and short. And Folk missing the field goal. So 4th down decisions, field goals versus going for it decisions. This team has been undisciplined in big spots, undisciplined all over the place, offensively, defensively, all the penalties that we see, the operation being a mess last year in 2022, the staff that Belichick put in charge of the offense last year. Bill Belichick, if you're looking at a blame pie, if you asked me why the Patriots have not been able to come back and win these types of games, Bill Belichick deserves more of the blame than anyone else that you could mention. Belichick. That's the point. This team has to win on the margins, and the head coach is getting in the way. Rate, review, like, and subscribe. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up. It means an awful lot to us here. It's the only way we get more eyeballs on YouTube is giving that thumbs up. Subscribing also helps. The ratings help. The reviews help. Everything that you can do to help us out here. It's a one-man band. We appreciate it. All right, let's get to some Patriots positives because there actually have been some positives this year, even though the start has been the start. The first positive I want to highlight is Christian Gonzalez. We all had these pre-draft expectations of him going in the top 10. He was supposed to go in the top 10. He slides to the Patriots, right? Patriots trade back. It looks like, oh my goodness, this is a steal. So far it is. So far it is a steal. Evan Lazar on Gonzalez. He logged his first interception in the NFL, of course, on Sunday night. He allowed only 3 catches for 32 yards into his coverage, all while shadowing Tyreek Hill. Without Jonathan Jones and Marcus Jones, Gonzalez drew the assignment on Hill and the Patriots' man coverage schemes after the younger Jones's injury. So, again, in coverage, 3 catches, 32 yards. Not too shabby. Pro Football Focus on Gonzalez gave him an 82.6 overall grade. And that's through the first 2 weeks of the season. That's his overall grade. Here's what they wrote about him. Gonzalez could not have drawn tougher matchups in his first 2 games. He excelled against Miami. He had a 90.9 PFF grade that led all qualified cornerbacks in week 2. So let's absorb that. PFF had Christian Gonzalez as the highest rated cornerback in the league last week. Pretty good. Pretty good. He did not allow a reception to Hill and only up 15 yards to Jalen Waddle. And they say he might be New England's best cornerback. So some of the stats slightly differ from what Lazar has. But overall, when you look at Gonzalez, no doubt a bright spot. He's had a really good first couple of weeks. He is the third highest grade for the first-round picks of this past year, according to PFF. So out of the 31 first-round picks through the first 2 weeks, Gonzalez is the third highest graded rookie out of those 31 first-round picks. Absolutely fantastic stuff. He was the number 1 graded rookie last week from PFF. Tough matchups, too. He's not playing against a bunch of ham and eggers. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. He changed assignments when Marcus Jones got hurt. Dealt with it. Explosive athlete, high IQ. And the criticisms when he was drafted, they seemed completely unwarranted. Remember those criticisms? Oh, he's quiet. I hated that stuff. That's so damn ridiculous. Oh, he's quiet. He's a quiet guy. Immediately, I thought of Stephon Gilmore. Gilmore's pretty quiet, too. He's also really good at what he does. He's quiet. How about, he's not aggressive enough tackling. He doesn't go downhill. We've seen that happen. We've seen him tackle. Yeah, he's made some mistakes, but we've seen somebody, especially against the Eagles, who has not hesitated to try to go downhill and tackle a guy. People actually question Gonzalez's ability to make plays on the football. How'd that work out on Sunday night? A spectacular interception. Gonzalez has been great so far through 2 weeks. You know what else has been really good, and we've overlooked it because some of these offensive struggles and the turnovers and the offensive line play? The red zone offense has been really good so far. In 2022, last year, the Patriots were 32nd in the league, dead ass last in the league in red zone touchdown percentage at 42.22%. The Cowboys were number 1 in the league in red zone offensive touchdown rate with 71.43%. So the Patriots dead last year in red zone touchdown percentage. This year so far, they're 5 of 7 in the red zone. If you're wondering, percentage-wise, that's 71.43%. Sounds very similar, right, to a number I just mentioned? Yes. The Patriots' red zone touchdown rate right now is equal to what Dallas did last year, and Dallas had the best red zone offense in football. Efficient, successful red zone offense, critical for this team. You know, they don't have a ton of explosion, as we've talked about. You have to make the most of the trips that you have into the red zone. And 5 of 7, converting 5 of those 7 red zone area drives into touchdowns pay dividends down the road. They've been very good in the red zone. They've been finishing drives when they get into the red area. They haven't finished drives enough on the plus side of the field, but when they get in the red zone, they've been doing well. The offensive line can get it together. Then you're better between the 20s. The run game improves. That'll give you more shots in the red zone. And if you continue to prove that you're a good red zone offense, you're going to put some points up. You're going to be better than what you've been the first couple of weeks. They've got to work on in between the 20s, offensive line play, run game. Rate, review, like, and subscribe. Let's end today with some Celtics. That's right. I love myself some Celtics. If you don't know, I am passionate about the Celtics. I love talking Celtics. I've always been that way for some reason. Gary Washburn this week spoke about Malcolm Brogdon, and he was on the Celtics beat on CLNS. And here's what Washburn said. Malcolm's the one I'm concerned about because we've heard nothing, and he's angry with this team. I don't think communication between the two sides has been fruitful. He might just say, listen, I'm not getting surgery. I'm just going to let this heal, and you'll have to wait for me. It could be a protest for being on the trade block. Few notes about this in Malcolm Brogdon's anger. Right? Ooh, he's Malcolm Brogdon's angry. What are we going to do? My goodness. Was Brogdon under the impression that he was untouchable? Because if he was under that impression, then I would say he had unreasonable expectations. The fact is, nobody to me is untouchable on this team other than Jason Tatum. Everybody else is available for the right price. And I really like Jaylen Brown. And I don't necessarily want to trade Jaylen Brown. But if you told me you could get somebody who was pretty damn good in a pick or 2 picks or 3 picks for Jaylen Brown, I would at least entertain it. I'm not entertaining anything when people bring up Tatum's name if I'm Brad Stevens. Tatum is the only untouchable on this roster, at least in my eyes. So if Malcolm Brogdon thought that he was untouchable and that he was not going to be in trade talks, that's on Malcolm Brogdon. Now, if he was told he wasn't going to be traded, that's a different story, but we haven't heard that. We actually heard that Marcus Smart was told about a week before he was dealt that he was safe. Not sure who told him that, but that's what Marcus has said. But we have heard nothing like that with Brogdon. Secondly, it's pro sports. And Brogdon knows that. It's pro sports. Like 90% of pro athletes, and the percent might even be higher than that. But the vast majority of athletes are seen as commodities. That's it. Whether they like it or not, that's what they're seen as. Whether that's fair or not, they're seen as assets. They're seen as commodities. Malcolm Brogdon had a really good year last year. He's fantastic until he got hurt in the postseason. But inevitably, again, he's not untouchable, and he is seen as an asset. And if you can get somebody better than Malcolm Brogdon on this team by trading Brogdon, then that is the responsibility of the front office to make a move like that. Brogdon's been in the NBA for a while now. And I'm sure he understands it's a business. Is he mad about the leaks? I've heard that. Is Brogdon mad about the leaks that he was going to be traded? Not on the Celtics. Look, there's no reason for the Celtics to leak that information. There's no reason until the deal is done for the Celtics to leak that they're trading Malcolm Brogdon. So whoever leaked that, I don't think it was the Celtics. Nobody knows who leaked the info. But how does it help the Celtics to leak out Malcolm Brogdon getting traded before he's actually traded? How does that help? How does that help them? So I'm guessing there's some shenanigans, other teams hearing whispers, rumor, and innuendo and all of that stuff, and they leak the information. I heard somebody, I forget who it was, but I heard somebody this week say it, and I've also seen this some, gathering around in the world of X. But the idea that Malcolm Brogdon is mad about the injury leaks, like what's wrong with him and the status of his injury and the fact that the Clippers were concerned with his injury, which ended up not being the case. If you believe the reports, the Clippers could not get Brogdon looked at quick enough for the trade to happen. But the Celtics are not leaking Malcolm Brogdon's injury status. I can guarantee you that. I don't think they leaked the trade information. I can guarantee you the Celtics did not leak the intel about Brogdon's injury and how serious it could be, because why would the Celtics do that? Again, if you're looking at Brogdon as an asset, as a commodity, you just destroyed the value of that commodity by leaking information that, oh, you know what, he might not be healthy. So if Brogdon's angry about the leaks of his injury, he's got misdirected hostility, old 311 song that I love. He's got misdirected hostility towards the Celtics organization, because I can guarantee you they did not leak that. They gained zero from that. Now, will he sit out? I don't think so. Is Malcolm Brogdon willing to let his teammates down? Is he willing to tell his teammates, yeah, I'm not going to come into camp and I'm not going to play because I was almost traded? What do you think Jaylen Brown would say to that? Jaylen Brown, who was in trade rumors every single offseason for the past 5-6 years. Was he on the table for Kevin Durant? Was he on the table for Jimmy Butler? Was he on the table for Kawhi Leonard? How do you think Jaylen would feel? And don't forget, Jaylen and Malcolm, I don't know if they're super tight, but they're at least pretty good friends. They're both from the Atlanta area. They both were involved with the protests a number of years ago, right? They did marches together. So could Malcolm look Jaylen in the face and say, hey, man, I'm going to wait to heal because, they wanted to trade me. Jaylen would be like, what are you talking about, man? They were talking about trading me all of the time. I woke up every day for like a 5-year period thinking I was going to be gone. And I still came out and I still played basketball and I still became one of the top 20 players in the league. Grow up, be a professional. And will Brogdon be willing to be labeled a risk, right? A risky kind of locker room guy? If Brogdon taps out and he doesn't play because he's angry, he's sulking, what does that say about Brogdon to the rest of the league? He damages his own reputation because you are on the trading block, which happens to a bunch of guys. Would Brogdon risk his shot at a ring? Somebody who's talked about he wanted to come to Boston. He had no problem coming to Boston, even though he was going to be a sixth man. He was willing to take that role because he wants to win. He wants that ring. Is he going to be willingly walking away, sitting on the sidelines while everybody else is playing and trying to win a championship? Is he going to be fine? Is he going to be kosher? Is he going to be chill with just sitting on the sidelines watching that play out? I don't think he's going to sit out. Now, do I think he's going to be a Celtic long-term? No. He has one more year left on his deal after this one. It's tough to see him lasting in Boston through the rest of his contract, not only because of some of this stuff, but also let's not forget the new CBA kicks in, and the Celtics are going to have to make some financial moves next offseason. And Brogdon's $20+ million deal is going to be one of those key pieces that they can move in a trade in an attempt to try to free some space and loosen the belt up a little bit. So I don't see Brogdon as a long-term guy here. Derek White, absolutely. Rate, review, like, and subscribe. Don't forget, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Pods, we're on YouTube. If you like or love what you're watching or listening to, help us out if you can. It only takes a couple of seconds to give us that thumbs up. Only takes a couple seconds to subscribe. It takes a little bit longer to leave a review, but we always appreciate those as well. All right, wrap it up on a hump day. Back tomorrow, we start to dig into this Jets-Patriots matchup. Until then, be good.